Hello and welcome to another wonderful episode of Not Without My Sister, where this week we have been prompted by Don, our sound engineer and husband to Beatrice, to help solve a problem that he's been having with his nostrils.
Poor Don.
And we're using it as a jumping off point for broad discussion about medical ailments and hypochondria in general. The entire topic is based around Beatrice's husband's potential hypochondria, but also our hypochondria.
It's not potential, in fairness. It's not potential. It's not potential. He's definitely a hypochondriac or has hypochondriac tendencies ever since we met.
But he also is very often unwell.
Correct.
Like, I don't feel like he's the kind of hypochondriac who is never sick but just imagines they are all the time. Like, I have a friend who I used to think was a hypochondriac until I realised that like a series of things happened to her in a row where she basically got whiplash and then she had a fractured coccyx and all these things. And I was like, oh God, maybe she hasn't been making it up. And I think she's just very unfortunate.
Well, I'll tell you, I mean, a couple of things that I thought he was making up, like motion sickness, when I got pregnant the first time and actually suffered from motion sickness and had to jump off the subway frequently to vomit into bins on the platform. Okay, so he's not making that part up.
Hang on. Did you think Don was inventing the entire concept of motion sickness?
No, I just thought that motion sickness wasn't as severe as anybody says it is. Like, I couldn't wrap my head around it. You know, I'm definitely one of those people who, having never experienced it myself, have slight skepticism over things, which, I mean, I don't like. I'm not proud of that. Yeah. But I realize it about myself now, where growing up, I definitely would have been like, oh, I'm very empathic and I definitely, believe people when they say things. And even though...
Just like Dad.
Yes. And even though I believe them, like, I intellectually believed them, I don't think I really, truly understood what, like when they were saying, I feel incredibly sick. I was like, I suppose that's what having never experienced it, I thought it was more like I have a mild nausea in my stomach. Whereas it's a totally different feeling, if you know what I mean. And he would try to explain it to me and I'd be like, right. But also that is because it's a bit like the boy who cried wolf. Like this morning he got up and he came downstairs holding his nostrils apart with his thumbs, like flaring them out. And he comes downstairs and he goes, I think I have a deviated septum. Is this what a deviated septum is? And I'm like, I don't know. I thought only people who like did tons of cocaine and were famous got those. So, I mean, that's obviously, again, a very uninformed opinion. Because when I Googled it, it said that Dr. Google told me that a third of people have undiagnosed deviated septums. Approximately a third of them. Oh. Yeah. And he was like, I can smell. Is this what it feels like to breathe? I was going... I mean, I don't know. So like I dutifully enlarged my own nostrils, but I have to say it felt the same. And then he started making hideous faces and going, but I mean, this also feels good. If I pull all my skin up so my nostrils are fully enlarged. And then he goes, but this is what you look like. So, yeah, right.
You do have very big nostrils. So maybe that is why you find it hard to be empathetic.
I don't know. I thought you were the one with the very big nostrils always. And I thought all the kids had inherited your very
only
big.
When I flare them.
No, yours are very large and triangular. So I thought that, I mean, when Chance was born, I was amazed at his nostrils. They were perfect triangles and he looks just like you. Yesterday, Mom sent a picture of when you were a baby and it said,
mine are round.
Aren't they twins?
Mine are round.
They're not remotely round. And it said literally, aren't they like twins? I'll share that picture afterwards. We'll put Chance on one side and you on the other. Maybe it was because she gave you that terrible haircut as well. Maybe it wasn't the picture. Maybe it was the haircut.
That was very bad. The little step.
Ugh, it was desperate. I mean, God bless her. And then she put you in that, everything was corduroy.
So hang on. Did you come to any conclusion, or this is what we want to ask people? Like, would the symptoms of would you discover you had a deviated septum by enlarging your nostrils and then suddenly being like, oh my God, I can breathe again?
Yeah. Or do you just have small nostrils? I don't know. Like, is that a deviated septum or is that just a small nostril hole? I couldn't tell you, but he also has trouble sleeping. Like he has what I would consider to be sleep apnea. Again, not being a doctor. He does a lot of like waking himself up in the middle of the night by almost choking, which is unrelaxing. For
Oh,
for him,
so does
for
one
him.
of-
I mean, just to clarify, for me, it's actually really unrelaxing for me.
Of course, it's just very traumatic for you because you're worried about your husband, but not.
I more meant
relaxing
because
for
it
him.
wakes me up and I'm already having trouble sleeping.
I know
oh,
what
right.
you meant. I know exactly what you meant. One of Brandon's sons has what we think is sleep apnea as well, and like will frequently snore and then entirely stop breathing and then just do a big choking thing and like roll over, and he's just this very noisy sleeper. But it is kind of worrying.
It's
'cause,
very
like,
worrying.
He slept with us. Yeah, he slept with us a couple of weeks ago because he wasn't well. And at one point, I was wide awake because he was basically kicking me nonstop. But I was lying there and all of a sudden he just stopped breathing. And I was like, oh my God. And then he went,
Oh my God. What are you going to do about it?
for
Anything?
him.
Is there anything to do?
I don't know, actually. I presume, like maybe when he's a little bit older, he could go and do like a sleep study or something.
Has this been discussed?
But at the moment,
Don
I
did
mean-
do that sleep study in Dallas. He went somewhere overnight and stayed. They like
Do you think he just went to a hotel?
No, he wished he
got
did.
room
They
service
put
and watched a movie?
electrodes all over him, but then they kept coming in every 10 minutes to check on him, and he said it was very unrelaxing. And then they kicked him out like at the crack of dawn.
To go to sleep.
They kicked him out at like 5 a.m. and he came home in a Fowler.
He's probably like, I was hoping for a lie-in.
Yeah, well, actually, do you know what he said the other day? He goes, I am sick of this fucking pandemic, right? Like him and the rest of the world. He goes, I'm just constantly just not, I'm in a bad mood. I'm just pissed off. I'm like, I'm overly stressed. I'm over this with these kids, this virtual learning. And he goes, well, this is all over. We're going for a 5-day vacation as a family. And then I am going somewhere by myself for 3 days to relax. I was like, why don't you do that first? Like, so we can actually have a night. I'm going, no, thanks. Like, thanks for the consultation, but no, thanks. You go by yourself tomorrow down to the Marriott and have a nice 3 days by yourself and then come home in a good mood.
Well, let me tell you now, Claire McCabe is absolutely on the same page as John, because on the phone the other day she says to me, I hope now once you're vaccinated and everything's safe that you're going to go over to your sister and stay for a weekend, let her and John go away somewhere. And I was like,
I hope so too.
Well, yes, Mum. Like, yeah, I was like, yes, Mum, I absolutely would do that. But you know, I have kids too, and I don't see Beatrice offering to come over and look after our kids. And she was like, you only have them half the time.
Yeah, you're having a laugh and you don't even and you only have half the number of them. So you only have them a quarter of the time that I have them. Right?
We only have 25% of the kids. That you usually have.
Exactly. Well, no, actually, more what I was thinking was Don can go somewhere for 3 days and you can come over here and stay with me so we can hang out and do jigsaws and catch up on all the time we haven't had together.
That'd be great.
That's what we need to do. Don can
That'd
go
be great.
somewhere and visit Dustin, his brother, and you and I can have full-on bonding time. We give the kids all the devices in the McDonald's they want. We let them stay downstairs in the basement playing video games 24 hours a day. We'll be the favourite parents. We will be the best, the coolest, and then he'll come back.
And then when Dawn comes back from his relaxing break, the kids will be
Feral.
demons. Can you
Feral.
imagine?
Even more feral than they are.
But hang on.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Hang on, back to the topic. Do you think you're a hypochondriac?
No, but like, I think it's different. You know, I think when Don, I don't know when Don was growing up, but like, there's a very different attitude to going to the doctor here. Like, once a year, you have to go to the doctor to get your
true.
annual, like, it's required. I mean, maybe it is in companies as well who are giving you insurance, but through our insurance, we have to have like a full annual checkup and a checkup in the office. So, and I mean, people go to the doctor at the drop of a hat, you know, when I'm going into the doctor. I'm like, I mean, Mom never brought us to the doctor. The doctor was like Christmas. It was like going to Santa, you know?
She brought me to a homeopath once because I had chronic headaches.
That must have been really now stretching her beliefs. Did she not bring you to the doctor first?
I think she probably did. I think we only went to the homeopath because she knew her through the Nina or something.
All right. Well,
I was like, oh, sure, we'll try it.
I don't think I'm a hypochondriac, but I definitely am a what's the term for somebody who, when they suspect they have something, go down a well.
I think you catastrophize.
That's it. Because I remember I was thinking, I was talking with Julia. I was texting Julia and I was reminding her of the time when we went for very avant-garde, I'd say 20 years ago. Probably wasn't avant-garde at all. It's probably totally normal. But we went to have we went to have an STD checkup, you know, just like, even though there was zero way, because I've all my life been like such a good Irish prude, as you know. There was zero way I had anything, but I was like, I better go and do this. Seems very like something, you know, a grown-up should do. It seemed like an adult move. And I was about 23. So I go along, get my blood taken, and they're like, come back in a week. That week, let me tell you, Every single way I could
Oh.
die a painful death went through my mind, right? Every single way. And it went through my mind every single minute of every single hour, sleeping and waking. I arrived a shell of myself. I remember the place where we had to go and get our results was across the road from the office. It's like literally a short hop and a jump across, a 2-lane road, a not very highly trafficked 2-lane road. And I was walking across, and I remember halfway across the road, my knees actually buckled and I fell in the middle of the road, and Julie had to pick me up and bring me into the place. Literally, they just turned to powder. They turned to dust and collapsed on the floor.
I just like,
So I hope if anything bad ever happens to me, that it happens to me on a desert island so nobody else has to deal with my nonsense, basically. I don't think I'll be
oh my
great.
God, no. I hope if anything ever happens to you, it just happens swiftly.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, kind of.
Well, you're welcome. But like, I think if I didn't routinely delete and reinstall WhatsApp, so like to save memory, I think I could trawl through my WhatsApp annals and find at least 5 occasions on which you have asked me to look after your kids because you think you're dying.
That is an exaggeration.
Because you're worried you might die.
That is an exaggeration, and you know it. No, it's more because Dawn and I don't have a will. So, like, where are the kids going?
No, it's because every now and then something happens where you find, like, although, I mean, they are always scary things. Remember you had that lump in your neck?
Remember that massive lump on my neck? I was in the supermarket,
Yeah.
remember, with Dad, and I was walking along, and it went from 0 to 100, and I was just, I don't know why I was touching my neck beside the butter aisle, but I was anyway. Maybe I felt it when I was swallowing. Anyway,
Obsessed with your neck.
and I put my finger down, like, to see what was going on, and I felt like what felt like a very solid lump. It felt like the size of a golf ball, and when I saw myself in the mirror afterwards, it was. Anyway, I turned around to Dad and I go, Dad, like, does this look okay? And he goes, Jesus Christ, no, that's massive. So that wasn't very relaxing. Anyway, it turned out to just be like, what was it? Some kind of weird liquid-filled thing. I don't know.
Like a cyst?
Yeah, it was very odd. Like it just shot up overnight. Anyway, what about you? Are you a hypochondriac? Because you're sitting very much in judgment on me there, and yet I feel like maybe you are, ish. Maybe you're not actually.
No. Well, I definitely, like, there are certain times when if I think there's something wrong, I'm almost like, I'm so convinced. Like when I was getting my like pins and needles in my arms for ages, I was like, I would have bet money, and I don't gamble because I don't like getting rid of money unless it's on clothes and food. I would have bet money that it was MS because I'd looked it up online and that was like one of the symptoms.
Excuse me, are you actually joking
and I was
right now?
convinced.
I have been telling you about my pins and needles in my hand for the last 2 weeks and you haven't said a thing.
We talked about this, I think, in the last podcast, and we were talking about how, and somebody messaged us on the podcast feed and said you should up your vitamin B.
Oh yes, but my point is you never empathised with me.
I did, and I asked you, was it in both of your hands? And you said sometimes, and we talked about how that wouldn't be MS.
That's
because
not
it often happens one
empathising, that's
side.
interrogating. Or as mother would say, interrogating. You never empathised with me.
Well,
you never said, oh, I've been there.
I was just trying to comfort you. I was trying to go, no, it's... Oh.
Anyway, so you had that. And
Anyway,
but you were cute as a
I was convinced.
cool as a cucumber, were you?
No, but I was just kind of going in going like, I think I have MS. You know what I mean? Like, I need you to confirm.
Actually, I believe this.
And I
The way
remember
you
one of
made
the
that
doctors-
really like smuggo face with the big eyes as well. I bet you that is how you talk to the doctor.
Yeah, I'd say the doctors hate me. There was another time that when I went for my colonoscopy, because I have for years had IBS symptoms that, to be honest, are very closely related to me eating large quantities of shit food. But I just am determined to discover a different cause so that I can continue eating shit food and just take medication to stop this problem. So I went for a colonoscopy. And I remember I was just so disappointed when they were like, everything looks fine.
Oh, that is kind of disappointing.
I was like, you're supposed to find something. You're supposed to find like a mini cheese grater stuck in there that's causing all my problems.
I thought that on last week where I went with Fox, who is, as you know, almost 3 and still has major speech difficulties. And the doctor had mentioned that potentially it could be something to do with his hearing. And I was like, I know he can hear fine. And she said, well, even a slight little bit of hearing difficulty could make it sound kind of muffled or underwatery. So I was like, great. So we go in and they do all these tests and then they're like, His hearing's perfect. And I was the same. I was like, oh, damn. Because you just want a diagnosis.
You just want an explanation.
Like, it's been it's nearly been 3 years now of me shunting him around to test after test, doctor after doctor, hospital stay after hospital stay, and they can't tell me anything. Because at the beginning, as you know, it was all about wheezing and lack of being able to breathe.
Yeah, I was actually going to say that because obviously when Fox was born, he had this issue where his throat flap wasn't closing over quick enough, so he was kind of inhaling some of his liquid.
A misaligned swallow, and it's called aspiration. Yes, and so after all the doctors told me that this was nothing and I was making it up and it wasn't a thing, finally when they diagnosed it, they were like, "Thank God we found this, because otherwise it could have been so detrimental to his lungs." I'm like, "Thanks a lot." Anyway,
yeah, but that to me is like, of course you're now determined to get like second opinions and to really advocate for him because you've already had that experience.
Yes. Anyway, back to you.
Oh.
So you're not a hypochondriac. You are a good diagnoser of yourself. You are every doctor's dream.
I'm not a hypochondriac, as in I'm never like, oh my God, convinced. Well, sometimes I am convinced that I have this thing, but it's more that I like want a good diagnosis for why I'm not basically a marathon running supermodel, other than that I'm lazy and I eat too much. Do you know what I mean? Like, I would love, like, all those times people have messaged me and said, "I think you have a thyroid problem." Like, a big part of me is like, that'd be great and to solve all my problems. But I mean, thyroid problems are no joke, so it wouldn't.
No, I know.
But like,
when you read,
I would love a reason.
But when you do your Dr. Google and you read the symptoms, and it's like weight loss. I mean, it sounds on the surface amazing. I'm like, I also have wished for a thyroid problem, but also because I was like, that would explain why I also have this chubby neck. But the doctor told me I had a thyroid problem and probably would have goiter later in life, which I didn't appreciate. Do you remember? Cheek of him.
I was just thinking, like, at least my neck is prepped for the goiter. It's ready. Space there already.
So anyway, back to Don. So Don, yes, is definitely
it's no joke.
Is definitely none of this is a joke, but you got to laugh or you'd be crying. So Don is definitely a mega hypochondriac because he's always diagnosing himself. But to your point, yeah, I suppose he does have like very unfortunate, and does require hospital stays, etc., for his various ailments over the years, like the time. But I think a lot of it goes back to where he fell off that like 20-foot ladder when he was working in New York. And he punctured his lungs and did all this kind of stuff. And I think a lot of it is related to,
like residual. Yeah. But sorry, didn't something happen, Don, where he went to the doctor was it for blood sugar tests or something? And basically he followed up 6 months later and they were like, "Oh yeah, really bad," or something.
Oh yeah,
that, where they basically just didn't tell him.
They did all these tests. Yeah, we moved. He did all these tests in Dallas, and we went home to Ireland for Christmas, and he was so sick. And I have to tell you, part of it, and he was puking all the time, and his motion sickness was really bad, and he was in a really bad mood. And he kept telling me he felt really sick and really weak and all this, and I was like, "Well, then you should go to the doctor," And he didn't want to go to the doctor. We were only there for 2 weeks. And I was like a bit like, "What is wrong with your man? He's in a desperate grump," etc. So we go home and he goes back to the doctor, and the doctor pulls out the chart that we were just moving, so he was getting his records from her. And she goes, "Oh yeah. Oh no, he brought them." And she goes, "Yeah, here's your records." He goes to the new doctor in Fort Wayne, and the doctor goes, "Oh my God, these blood levels are really dangerous. Like, you're about to have a stroke basically," and puts him on all these meds that they just never mentioned. So if I was a proper American, I would have sued them, but I'm not good like that. Yeah, I know. Negligence, because it wasn't. It was like it was one of these places that was. It was like not. I mean, they had qualifications. They were doctors and nurses, but there was some like new form of treatment that is looked at a little bit skeptically. I can't remember what it was called. It was some kind of like, eat this way and take these shots and do all this kind of thing. So anyway, it turned out to be crap.
What you mentioned about Dom being home for Christmas and kind of not wanting to go to the doctor, I think there's such an Irish attitude that like, basically, if you don't want to go to the doctor, just get on with it. Do you know what I mean? Either go to the doctor or get on with it. And I don't mean you, but I mean in general in Ireland. I think we do have. Oh, but I mean everyone. Like, I think we really have a. Asher, you'll be grand. Like, if you're not dying, just get on with it. You know what I mean?
Well, what else are you supposed to do? As Mom would say, you get up in the morning, when you're up, you're up. What are you supposed to do? You just get on with things.
I was just about to say, there's a lot to be said for it sometimes, because sometimes you do just need to get on with things. But then other times, I think you also need to not get on with things and for somebody to like take you seriously and give you a hugg and make you a cup of tea.
Oh my God, I feel really bad now. Maybe I should go and make some tiny little nose stints that I could gift Don later on as a sign of love.
That'd actually be hilarious. Why don't you order him those stickers online that you stick on your nostrils and they pull them out?
Oh, trust me. He pinched his nose earlier on and said, "That doesn't work." So I don't think that one. But maybe send me the link later on. I'll have a look.
Oh yeah, they don't pinch your nose. They actually stick and then they pull it out. It's weird.
Oh really? Right, send me that later on. I'll buy that from.
I tried them for snoring and it didn't work for me though.
Oh, but we've already ascertained your nostrils are massive.
Determined. Yeah, true. I'm determined to snore. But you know what? The snoring thing is another thing that I would love to get like a diagnosis for, even though I now know from my own experience when I lost 4 stone, I stopped snoring entirely. But I want another way to stop it. That isn't like, I mean, I want another way to stop all my ailments that isn't like exercise more and eat less. Very, very annoying.
What about just a sound dampener and a room of your own?
Oh, a room of my own. So basically, I'm not a hypochondriac. I'm just a baby.
Oh.
Who wants to keep eating chips and sitting on the couch and to be super, super healthy.
Well, I would say, yeah, I'm not a hypochondriac, but when I have ailments, I'm a catastrophizer. That's a good one. I go straight to the absolute
super, super ailments.
Yes, they are the absolute worst possible thing. But also, but you know what they are? They are undiagnosable because none of these things that I've ever had have ever actually had a satisfactory diagnosis attached to them. They've always been like...
What would a satisfactory diagnosis look like?
Well, like anything versus last time, like when I went in and my boobs were really sore and they're like, and I mean, they've been really sore for months and they were like stabbing me with pain in the middle of the night. They're like, hormones, maybe try to drink less coffee. A bit like you, I was like, absolutely not. I'll put up with this stabbing pain.
Do you remember your neck? And she was just like, well, you know, that might just be your life.
Well, that was my ear when I went
pain.
In about my ear, which was agony.
Oh, yeah.
And like agony for about a year and a half. Oh, and I had that stupid foot brace on for a year and a half as well. Do you remember? Because the doctor couldn't find...
You definitely sound like a hypochondriac now.
No, I went to the doctor. Remember, I twisted my ankle and I went to the doctor. It never got better. And it was really sore. My foot would swell
Running past the IKEA in Brooklyn.
Yes, but after that, my foot would swell up on the regular if I walked more than a mile, you know, even at like a leisurely pace. And they did all these not exercise. They sent me to therapy. They did all these X-rays and MRIs. And let me tell you, there's nothing less convenient than physical therapy, right? That's a fact. Nothing less convenient.
It's true.
And I would go in for all these things. And finally he puts me in a foot brace. He's like, oh, you're obviously doing too much with your foot, because he didn't know me at all, right? So I wear the boot, the stupid boot, ruined my style.
For almost a year, wasn't it?
For almost a year. Because like eventually he's like, well, we could put a steroid in you. And then I was inconveniently pregnant, so he couldn't do that in your ankle. So they couldn't do that. They were going to give me a steroid shot, which I'm sure would have helped. They didn't give me that. Then he's like, well, we could do an operation. He's like, and I could cut some ligaments and do this and the other. But I don't really know what it is and I can't see it. So I kind of be guessing. I was like, no thanks. Like even to me, a non-medical person, that sounds like not a good idea.
Yeah, please open me up and then guess about what you're doing. Great.
But I do remember one time where I actually got a diagnosis and I wished I hadn't. And when I moved to Paris, and you have eczema, right?
What was it?
You have eczema, don't you?
Oh yeah.
And Beau has really bad eczema. Should I not tell this story?
Well, are you going to say where the eczema was?
I mean, I was going to allude to it.
Go on.
Well, when maybe I shouldn't. When I moved to Paris, and I was having this terrible itch in my bum, Rosemary. Is this too much? Is this too much?
No. Listen, it's fine.
And it was absolutely terrible. And I was like, you know, and the worst thing is at night, you know, like a toothache or anything will distract you by bringing your imagination back up to my tooth. You know, like a toothache is the worst possible thing at night. Like during the day, you can get on with it. It's painful, but you can get on with it. But when you're lying in the dark and the silence,
you're distracted, yeah,
and there's nothing to think about except how agonizing your tooth is. Well, that's what this was. This itch was the single worst itch ever. So I'd been there a week and I didn't speak any French. I had to go to the doctor in his beautiful...
You did speak a bit of French.
I mean...
Probably not enough though.
Yeah, it wasn't enough because I was like, ça gratte, which means like, it itches. And he's like, okay, where? And I'm like, I got to do all this pointing like at the back of my trousers, right? And finally, like literally I find myself 2 sentences in across the physician's like couch, whatever it's called, like bench.
Oh my God, I thought you were going to say lap.
No, Rosemary, no. And it was eczema from stress. Like, who gets eczema from stress? Not in a place that is convenient. Me.
Probably more people than just you, but they just don't talk about it, so we don't know.
Oh, that's true, actually. That's true. That's making me feel somewhat better. Somewhat. But it was, and I mean, very inconvenient and really makes me want to monitor my stress levels because knowing that that's a recurring thing is not...
That could come back. A friend of mine and like not to, like, she's talked about this on Instagram stories. So my friend Simone, she's on Instagram at Simone Scribes. She had a mega anxiety attack basically recently where she ended up in hospital and they thought she was having a stroke because she lost movement in one entire side of her body. She couldn't speak. And it turned out she was just having like a super like big anxiety attack. So like my point being, your body can manifest these things in the most bizarre and like extreme ways. But so scary. So like in a way you're lucky it was just eczema in your butthole.
Did you have to say that?
Yes, I've been saving that up. I'm like, how can I get the word butthole in here? It's going to have to come out.
Oh, you absolute bitch.
You know though, sorry, speaking of inconvenient itches and stories that mom's going to hate, I used to get thrush all the time.
Oh my God.
And again, I could almost tie it directly to, I did eat 6 slices of toast yesterday. And now I have thrush. Like, I'm convinced it was the yeast in the bread, but I still didn't want to give up the bread. Like, you know what I mean?
Oh, but you didn't.
I'm sure it wasn't that closely.
I used to get it so badly years ago, but I'm definitely convinced it was alcohol related. And again, I couldn't give up the alcohol.
Sorry. What? You didn't get it? I used to get it badly. I used to get it very badly. I used to always...
Sorry. I wasn't finishing the sentence.
Had to get the prescription thing.
What I meant to say was you didn't get it the same time that I got it. Like what I was trying to say was we didn't get it in any overlapping way because I got it for years and it was terrible. And then Mom called me up one day and she said, your poor sister gets these terrible attacks of thrush and I've never gotten it and you've never gotten it. I was like, you're having a laugh. Oh my God. I was constantly... I remember we got one of those... God, all I can think right now is that Kevin is probably listening to this. Kevin, just switch this off. Right, switch this off 10 minutes ago, actually. And I just remember I got this here. I called up my doctor and I was like, I have really bad thrush in America. And she was like, yeah, well, what do you want? Do you want me to prescribe a pessary for you? And I was going, no, like I just want whatever. I can't even remember what I used to use to get rid of it. Like I think, I don't know, antibiotics? I don't know. What did I use to get?
The tablet is called Diflucan. I think it's called the same thing here as it is in Ireland.
Well,
that's what I always used to have to take.
This was a pessary where obviously you like it's you know, and I put it.
Yeah, Beatrice, we know what a pessary is.
I used the pessary, and it burnt so unbelievably badly. Were you not with me when this happened? And I literally was 2 full days crying in the bath. Like immediately had to it required immediate removal. Cried for 2 full days, couldn't move, like it didn't go away. It was
in the bath. I don't think the bath would help.
I had to and I was trying to wash this thing away.
Oh yeah, fair.
I mean, what else was I supposed to do? It was an absolute evil creation. I do not know who would make that for a delicate lady part.
Sorry, I just had a terrifying flashback to the time that my friend, you know what, I'm going to name her because she deserves it, Lindsay, who was my friend and sugarist back in Dublin, and she's a bit of a hippie, which I think she would like. She's from Seattle, you know, she's a bit of a hippie. She told me that one of the best cures for thrush was a clove of garlic, right?
Why do you say that in American voice? Say that again. Garlic? Is that because Lindsay was from Seattle?
Yes, I was just doing her accent. Inserted like a pessary, but that it was very important to put tiny little cuts in the garlic first so that the garlic juice or whatever could actually come out.
Did you think she was your friend, but secretly she hated you? Is that what's actually going on here?
This might have been it. So I did this. What she neglected to tell me was that you're supposed to actually put a thread, like put a string through it so that you can get it back out again.
I cannot with this story.
Beatrice.
Are you actually joking right now? I've never heard this.
I'm not joking. It burned like it was the most...
Are you actually... Imagine... Are you my sister or are you a moron? Because like, what the hell? Was she a hippie or a Wiccan?
Can't I be both?
Yes, you can be both. Oh,
no,
did you
she's
do
not
this?
a Wiccan.
When
she's
did
just
you
a bit
do
of a
this?
hippie. Oh God, not long enough ago. My vagina is clenching now thinking about it. Probably about 10 years ago, like ages ago. Beatrice, it was brutal. Like if you think about the kind of burn that you get from eating a clove of, like eating raw garlic.
Rosemary,
it was dreadful.
Have you never read More Magazine? I guarantee if I was to Google right now, More Magazine, I bet you there would be like, a garlic stole my vagina.
I think they actually had this in position of the fortnight. Insert the garlic clove and then try to find it. Because let me tell you, it was like the most advanced game of hide and seek.
You are lucky.
I didn't think there were places in there that the clove of garlic could disappear to. But it could.
Put a clove of garlic in there for? You are lucky you are pregnant. Does Brandon know the stupidity of you?
No, and he doesn't listen to the podcast anymore, TG. So he'll never know.
TG is right. Great, we can say all those things we've been storing up about him.
I was going to tell the story again about him and the profiteroles ending up in A&E because that's kind of a hypochondriac story, but I think I've told it enough times.
Total hypochondriac. It's amazing. I mean, why are men like? I mean, at least you were saying, "Hey, I have IBS, but I know that that's what's causing these things. I just wish there was a different solution." Why do men not realize that if you stuff your face full of food, you could then potentially feel sick afterwards, and you're not actually? There's nothing else related to it.
You know, he looked up this pack of mini frozen profiteroles recently, and there are 30 in it. I thought it was 16.30. He ate 30 profiteroles and then thought, "I'm dying. I need to go to A&E." It's not just because I ate 30 profiteroles.
The most expensive profiterole of his life, I have no doubt.
Absolutely. And he also then revealed that he'd eaten an entire trifle the day before. I don't know where he'd like travelled back to the 80s to have these snacks, but like...
Exactly. Oh my God. He was having the best time. Poor Brandy.
Until he really wasn't. I know. God, I can't. I'd block that out about the garlic now, I have to say.
But you know, it must be. I'm blocking it out right now as we speak. But you know what? It must be an adult behavior. Because when I think about the kids, like if I say to them, you know, if they hurt themselves or whatever, and I go, "Are you all right?" They're like, "Yeah, fine." You know, Bo falls on the ground and picks himself right back up. "I'm fine, Mom." What is it that makes us so precious as we become adults? Is it our mortality?
I don't know. Yeah, but I also feel like there was a point at which I suddenly realised, like, because obviously I fall a lot, we've talked about that before, but I think there was a point probably in the last couple of years that I kind of realised, like, I'm too old to keep falling, if that makes sense, as in one of these days I'll fall and actually break my hip or something.
Sorry, I thought it was I fall, and I feel like you're co-opting my truth here, Rosemary.
We were talking about how we both fall all the time, how I fell on Parnell Street, like into the arms of the Chinese restaurant owner.
That was a plan.
Talking about
that
the two of
us. An
accident. Like, I think I need some fried dumplings to make me feel better.
You were like, "I'm practicing for when I fall outside of Bombay Pantry."
You know, I fell off my bike once, like, into the arms of a man. Like, literally, he caught me as I fell off my bike and then immediately tossed me onto the path and walked off.
Did he?
I was like, this could be the best meet cute of my life. Yeah.
He didn't stop to ask you. He didn't stop to say anything. He just dropped you and walked off.
No, I just went, "Oh, sorry." And he was like, "It's okay," and then walked off. I was like, "Come back. You're clearly my one true love."
That would actually be a very short movie. Let me think, what else? I'm trying to think why I was ever I was at the doctor when I was a kid because I had, as we already know, some weight issues.
Fatness.
No. Fatness, you absolute weapon. And the aforementioned goiter, which was related to same. I had a verruca, which I remember was cruelly burned off my foot with the dry ice.
Frozen off.
And I literally, frozen off. I don't know if you could call that frozen off because there was the hole the size of like a kidney bean in the bottom of my foot.
Stop. I had two of those. It was revolting.
Yeah, like, is that normal? Is that what people still do nowadays? It seems very brutal. Please advise. If that's still...
Yeah.
Before Rosemary and I start to imagine.
@gmail.com.
Yes, exactly. What else?
Are there a load of children walking around with holes in their feet and we just don't know about it?
Yeah, exactly. Limping around. I was limping. I had to limp for ages. Oh, I was in hospital. I was an outpatient procedure, but I did have a general anaesthetic.
For what?
For my wisdom teeth, having them removed.
Oh, yeah, so did I. I was actually thinking that we'll share the picture of you and your wisdom teeth on Instagram.
Oh, that's nice. The really kind of... Well, I had to stay home for a week afterwards. Everybody else was like back eating chips the next day in school. And I had to stay home for a week and recover.
You were chipmunkified for a week.
I was, but I was actually agony. I don't know what was... They were all impacted. I don't know what was wrong with my mouth.
I remember when I had mine removed right after I woke up, I was like, "Can I see my teeth?" And they'd already thrown them away.
What? I only have about 8 teeth left now when I think about it because they took out about 17 to give me my brace. Then they took out all my wisdom teeth. I mean, it's a miracle I'm this smart and I can chew as well. But like recently, I went to the dentist. Remember I had that terrible toothache? I went to the dentist and she's like, "Oh, no, remember I had that little weird pimple on my gum?" And I went to the dentist. She's like, "Oh, that's a fissure or fistula. And oh, your tooth already had a root canal in it and it's failing. Oh, how about we just pull out your tooth?" I was like, pull out my tooth? I only have one good back tooth. What am I going to do then? And I had this terrible, it's no offense, Mom, but I was like, I'm turning into Mom, right? I was like, she's missing a tooth. I was like, I don't want to be missing a tooth. I'm too young. So I call Mom on the way home. And I was like, they offered to pull it out. And you know what she goes? She goes, "Then you'll be just like me." And I was like, that's not...
A dentist recently told me, because I grind my teeth so badly, she was like, "You know, Oh yeah, and because my front teeth, I can't bite down on my front teeth, so like I can only chew with my back teeth basically. Like I can't eat asparagus.
I'm going to watch you from now on because you sound like
it.
you obviously eat really stupidly. I'm going to watch from now on just to see what you look like when you eat.
Anyway, and my dentist recently told me, not recently, like a couple of years ago, told me that I need to be really, really careful because if I ground my teeth so badly that I began to crack my back teeth, she was basically like, you won't be able to eat.
Rosemary, you should start grinding like Billy-O. That's a brilliant idea. If that was me, I'd be like, "Argh." I wouldn't be getting that night guard at all. If you'd throw that night guard in the bin. Well, I mean, I barely wear it anyway. But yeah, I was horrified. Well, anyway.
Fistula. That sounds absolutely grim. And look, seeing as we're talking about like hypochondria and medical procedures, let's talk about something important. Let's spread some good information. Let's talk about smears. Do you go for your smear regularly?
Yeah, of course, once a year.
Oh yeah, I had one the other day, and I actually think, like, so I've had them in Ireland. There's a thing, cervicalcheck.ie, where I think I'm going to give out so much misinformation now, but it's free, and basically once you turn, I think 25, you get one every, I think it's 3 years, unless they show up any abnormalities, in which case you go back a year later, just to double check. But I couldn't remember, like, when I went to the doctor last week, she was asking me, when did you last have a smear? And I was like, I'm pretty sure I went and got everything done before I left Ireland because I knew it'd be expensive here. So I was like, I think I got it done in January or February of 2020. But anyway, she did it again. And I'm convinced that they didn't use, because in Ireland, they always use that speculum thing where they like, kind of widen the canal basically to better see where they're just kind of scraping the cells from. And that makes it sound very brutal. It's actually fine. Like I don't mind it at all. But I don't even think she used a speculum this time.
Well, Rosemary, I think that speaks for itself. Now, you don't need me to go into detail.
Just thinking that as I said that out loud, I was like, don't want to make this point.
Yes, Rosemary, I go once a year.
Anyway, smears are grand.
Potentially it's twice.
And we should all be going for
I think it's every year. And every year for my mammogram now that I've turned 40. Which was the first one the first one I went to obviously was last year when I turned 40. Well, I can't remember, over 40. Anyway, I've had two, and then I had another one recently because I was having all those boob pains, but they're grand. They're just very undignified, and I just feel like, God, all the crap we have to put up with. But I mean, part of it is also, maybe part of my catastrophizing is that now that I feel like I can't complain anymore about any of my pain, because the minute I have any pain, Dad just goes, well, you're over 40. They don't have a lot of sympathy for me ever. It's always like, well, you chose to live abroad. Well, you're over 40. Meanwhile, Petty Pie Rosemary.
You chose to age.
Yeah, exactly. I didn't choose when to be born. And now, of course, in the era of COVID, everything seems like COVID, right? So I don't know. I don't think that's particular to me, though. I think because we all still go into the office. We have to go into the office on occasion with our masks on, etc. But, people are still contracting COVID apace here in the States.
Yeah. Like no matter what you're doing, like, things are a lot more relaxed here than they are in Ireland, but no matter what you're doing, you're going to the supermarket to get your groceries. So there is a chance that you could contract it at some stage from somewhere or someone. And yeah, like you, I think every time, like I've been having, since basically getting pregnant, I've been having a lot of phlegm, which Dr. Google says is a pregnancy symptom.
Oh, sorry.
I know, it's gross. Listen, if we can talk about buttholes and smears and basically you implying that I have a very wide vagina, then I can talk about my phlegm.
I just
absolutely
let the silence speak for itself.
Let the gaping silence speak for itself.
That's what I should have said. I let the silence yawn on.
Anyway, I've been having a lot of phlegm with the result that when I wake up in the morning, I have this like smoker's coughing fit basically every morning from lying in bed and basically snoring through my mucus.
Through your deviated
septum.
septum.
Every morning I'm like, I've got COVID. I'm coughing, I've got COVID. Am I warm? But safe to say, I don't think I do have COVID because the only symptom I have is coughing for approximately 10 minutes in the morning.
Well,
and that's
what I have developed here, which also always makes me suspect COVID, is allergies, which I didn't have anywhere else except Milan. Oh, yeah. I also developed really bad allergies. So did you, I think, didn't you?
I didn't know that.
I think you did. Well, here anyway, I have really bad allergies, which I've never had before in my life. They come on like the strongest cold and then they're gone the next morning. And it is head-wrecking.
Yeah, I can imagine. I had hay fever at home that would occasionally get like bad for a day or two, but wasn't like Dad got it worse than I did. But I haven't really noticed here. But then I did have all those sinus issues when I first moved over, so maybe I do have.
Oh yeah, you had. Oh well, that's it. Yeah,
allergies.
everybody who moves here seems to have like all these sinusitis, rounds of sinusitis, which is exactly what you did have. Yeah, you've been to the doctor non-stop since you've been here, and I've just been to the doctor.
I have been to the doctor a lot,
and I've been to the doctor non-stop since Christmas holidays because I have 4 kids, which is 3 kids too many in terms of doctor's visits. Like, and go
4 kids.
I'm
too
bringing
many
them to the dentist. It's head wrecking. I mean, literally by the time I've brought the 4 of them, it's time to go again. You're back on the 6-month cycle. Well, as mother says, why do you need to go to the dentist every 6 months? Even though she does. Why do you need to go to the dentist every 6 months? Why don't you go just when you need to go when you have a toothache? But it's maintenance, mother. It's prevention. It's prevention.
Well, oh my God, she really doesn't care about you because she's been telling me to go for my dental checkups and not to waste all the time and money that they put into my teeth. She doesn't give a fuck about it.
She doesn't. This is really mean. Thanks a lot, Mom.
She literally asks me once a week, have you been to the dentist? Make sure you go to the dentist.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
Maybe she thinks I have nice teeth, whereas yours have been ruined by wine.
Whatever. Well, I was actually, a glass of wine would be lovely, but it's only 11:55 a.m. But it is Sunday. We'll have one soon.
It's a bit early.
We'll have one soon.
Yeah, true.
But I was thinking as well, Mom and Dad never went to the doctor. Maybe actually it was more related to just the fact that they had kids and didn't want to have to bring us all, because now they're constantly at the doctor. They're doctor for drop of a hat now. They're on first name terms with their doctor. He's a lovely guy.
Beatrice, they're in their 70s. I think that's pretty normal.
I don't know. They're constantly telling me what's going on with them.
You're saying this like they're major hypochondriacs. They're just old.
Rosemary, they're listening.
Maybe
you're only as old as you feel, Mom, Dad.
You're only as old as the woman you're feeling, as Dad used to say.
Or the
creepily.
man, let's not, or the person, let's not discriminate.
Yes. Or the non-binary person.
Exactly. Well, Dad's definitely not a hypochondriac because he leaves everything too late and then has to live with it. Like his carpal tunnel, that he had tingling in his fingers and numbness in his fingers for about 2 years before he bothered to go and get it checked out.
Oh yeah, and we haven't really heard about his arthritis in his wrist. Maybe his carpal tunnel is now taken over.
No, his carpal. He had those operations where they like slice your hand, and do you not remember? You weren't even paying attention. Poor Dad was recovering from carpal tunnel surgery, and you weren't even paying attention. God, you're a great. Listen, lads, who is the most attentive child here? It's me, Mom, Dad. I'm talking to you.
No, listen. The problem is, Mom and Dad are like cats. You're too needy.
What?
When you're needy with cats, you make them go away. And like they don't care about you. I sit back and I wait for the affection to come to me.
Having a laugh. You are literally you are the cat living in Mom's cardigan. I moved away. You were there every day of the year having dinner with them twice a week. And you didn't notice Dad had like massive plasters on his hands. That's nice. Nice job.
You're making gestures that make Dad look like Edward Scissorhands.
Actually, that's what I said to Dawn yesterday. Let's dress Foxy up as Edward Scissorhands for Halloween. He'd be amazing. He's got the hair.
Oh, well, yeah, but you'd have to colour it black.
No, he's grand. He'd be a red-haired Edward Scissorhands. Like, use your imagination. But he was walking around with some Duplo on his fingers, on all 4 of his fingers, and one of his thumbs on each hand. Anyway, with 10 pieces of Duplo on his hand. Yeah, I know. I was like, you're going to correct me if I say on his 5 fingers. You'd be like 4 fingers and a thumb. Anyway, on his hands, on the ends of his appendages, he had. No, never mind. We'll just drop this. We drop this.
It's too much. I think he'd be really good. What's that? Beetlejuice.
Oh yeah, maybe. I also think he'd be really good as that evil kid from The Incredibles. You know, the one with the red hair, like in the shape of an ice cream cone.
I'm really hoping that my baby is like. Although I probably won't be vaccinated by Halloween, I really want to dress my baby as Toby from Labyrinth for Halloween, and then for me to be Jennifer Connelly and for Brannon to be David Bowie with really tight pants on. He's very excited.
Oh my God! Did you ever see that picture of the baby in the pram? That looks like the clown from It through the grate. It's actually amazing. I'll find the picture later on online to share. It's amazing.
Okay. Yeah, I do think my baby's going to be too small though. You kind of want a 1-year-old because you want to be able to reenact the bit where David Bowie throws the baby in the air.
What?
You know when he goes
Rosemary,
like, dance, magic, dance, and he throws the baby
Rosemary,
in the air.
remember Laura, the doll from Germany? All you need to do is get a sub. Do you think that was a real baby they threw in the air? Rosemary, it's called a prop baby. So you have your baby and then you have a prop baby. Okay. You let Brandon carry the prop baby under his jacket. Under his billowy silk blouse.
But
open to the navel.
Hang on, where do we hide the real baby while we're throwing the
behind your
prop
back.
Baby. Poor baby. But only 3 weeks old.
Rosemary, you stand in front of the buggy, whatever. Listen, out of shot, out
We'll
of
see.
scene. Like, it's a photo.
No, I was thinking we go trick-or-treating and every time someone opened the door, we'd throw the baby in
Yeah,
there.
and then you suddenly present the actual baby in front of you. But like based on all the newborn clothing.
You suddenly get carted away by CPS.
No, based on all the newborn clothing that you bought, this baby's going to be minuscule, even though Brandon is 7'2". So we're good.
This baby is going to be absolutely wedged into the tiniest baby gross. Be all like squashed.
Also that you could just shove him down your t-shirt every time you get to a new door.
You know what, Beatrice? I'm planning on being like Maeve Madden by October 31st. I'm going to be queening twice a day. I won't be any room in my t-shirt. It'll be a size 6.
Oh, great. Well, I'll be Maeve Maddening alongside you. I'm trying to get Nash to Maeve Madden with me, but he's determined to get on the Peloton. He got on it for 1 second just. He was like, great, yeah, buy me a pair of shoes for this. I was like, absolutely not. Absolutely
Why not?
What?
Why not? What age is he? 10?
He's 10. I would.
He's supposed
I would had he shown more than 1 minute's interest on it. Had he sat on it for 5
Fair.
minutes and said, oh yeah, I can do this. Instead he literally sat on the seat and then said, great, buy me those shoes. I'm like, no, that's not how it works. Display some enthusiasm. I will buy you the shoes.
What size feet does he have?
Who knows?
Oh.
So,
No, hang on. Just sorry, I can't believe I haven't touched on this. I could also say that being pregnant has made me, if not a hypochondriac, then like a great Googler of every random symptom. You know, I have this weird thing in my leg where I keep getting this really hot patch, and then it feels like it's tingling, and then it feels like it's numb, and then it feels like it's hot again. And there's a whole term for it, and it's something to do with the trapped nerve in your hip.
yeah, I did know that.
mad?
I told you that last week. And I also told you that leg cramps were extremely common in pregnancy. Like excruciating
any
leg
leg
cramps
cramps.
in the middle of the night where you wake up and your
No.
leg is actually in unbearable pain. And also those sweats that you talked about where you get up in the middle of the night and put the towel on your bed
sweats.
that nobody ever mentions, ever.
The sweats, the phlegm. I mean, it's very
What
attractive.
phlegm I didn't have now.
The leg cramps
Motion
that have caused me
sickness.
to wake up more than once, basically screaming.
Yeah, motion sickness, leg cramps.
I haven't got any motion sickness. I haven't got leg cramps. I've just got the leg burn, like the leg pain.
Yeah, but just so you know as well, it's not the same with every baby. Like I had motion sickness with baby 1, leg cramps with baby 2. Like
I know.
It's nice the way your body can just continue to give you hideous surprises.
Well, Brandon's telling me that this is the only baby we're having, so at least I don't need to worry about that.
No, Rosemary, it's not up to Brandon.
I know, that's what he thinks.
With how attractive, with,
I was actually
with how
watching.
seductive you are, with the way you parade around the house. When you're like Maeve Maddening around in your teeny tiny hot pants, how will he be able to resist?
Oh my God. Just wait until this baby's out and I'm back in my full brief flexi fits and my wireless, very sexy. I never wore sexy underwear. Just be back in the same maternity
Excuse
underwear.
me, you told me these flexi
the rest
fits
of my
were
life.
sexy.
I think they're very sexy in a 50s way.
Don't
yeah.
you think that flexi and
That's what I
sexy
tell myself.
rhyme for a reason? Sexy fits, that's what I call them.
Sexy fits. Anyway, we would love to hear. Listen, most importantly, does Don have a deviated septum?
Oh, yeah.
That's what we want to know. If you are a doctor, a nurse, physiotherapist, we'll even go for like Reiki master.
A vet.
Let us know. Yeah. But you need to have some kind of qualification. Like, we don't want to know from Joe Soap on the street. We want somebody who's done some degree of at least a week of study of
esthetician.
something to do with medicine in the body.
Anybody.
Yes. Yeah. Massage therapist.
Employee at
cosmetic
Google.
surgeon.
Google employee.
Nose waxer.
Oh yeah, good one. Actually, that thing that you shared with me, I'm like, where do I get that nose wax thing?
Oh my God, I really want to do that.
I must write that down.
There's a clip online of Chiara Ferragni. Her husband, I think, had this nose waxing kit where he basically stuffed globs of wax up her nose, attached to sticks, waited for them to dry and then yanked them out. I really want to do it. Ever since then, every time I look in the mirror, I'm like, oh, a lot of nose hair.
I know, lots. Actually, the other day,
Really want
Chance
to do
looked
it.
up my nose and went, why are there hairs up your nose? I was like, just you wait. Why did they never say this stuff to their dad, who like genuinely has proper hairy nostrils?
Because he's supposed to have a hairy
Well, in
nostril.
fairness,
Like, he's a
maybe you
man.
can't see into his nostrils because they're so tiny. That's why he can't breathe.
Poor Don, now we're mocking his disability.
Oh,
Thank you so much.
disability. Rosemary.
Well, if it's hampering his breathing, Beatrice, that's what it is.
Correct. If it's shortening his lifespan, correct?
Thank you so much for listening to Not Without My Sister. You'll find us on Instagram at Not Without My Sister.
Sorry, Rosemary. I'd like to say,
It is Not Without My Sister.
I'd like to say thank you for listening to Not Without My Sister, the medical episode.
Oh, yeah. Not Without My Sister, a podcast by experts for idiots. You'll find us on Instagram at Not Without My Sister. The website is notwithoutmysis.com, and you can email us with all of your deviated septum related knowledge at notwithoutmysis@gmail.com. We're also individually on Instagram. If you search Rosemary McCabe or Beatrice McCabe, you'll find us there. And we will catch you again on Friday for a mini-sode that will undoubtedly be almost as thrilling as this was, but with more information as we go off and do 3 days worth of research in between.
That's a lot, in fairness.
Thanks for listening.
Thank you.
Bye. Not Without My Sister is produced by Liam Garrity, sound and original music by Don Kirkland, and our original illustration is by Lindsay Nielsen.
Not Without My Sister is a member of The Warren.
As is our podcast, The Critter Shed.
For more great podcasts, hop along to thewarren.ie.